FM News Talk 97.1. On demand audio.
The truth that you want people to know is that he left, he deserted, in your view, and that good men died trying to find him.
I mean, he's at best a deserter and at worst a traitor.
Wow, these are harsh words, and there are a lot of them being said today by a number of different veterans, all about Bo Bergdahl, the story that we have been covering for, this is going on our second day now. And this is, you always want to have the feel-good story where you want to give people the benefit of the doubt, and you want the story to be that this is someone who served his country and was captured and is being returned home, and that's something to be celebrated. But you can't discount the men who served with him and the men who have been overseas there and were participated in rescue missions. Some of the things that they have been saying, these individuals were there, whereas other people were not. And one of those individuals, one of the Navy SEALs who took charge of one of these rescue missions, Thom Shea, he's the author of the book Unbreakable, A Navy SEAL's Way of Life. He joins me on the phone right now. Good afternoon to you, Tom. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is there's so many people speaking out about this now, and I realize that a lot of these veterans, a lot of these guys that have served, they've been talking about this for a number of years. I mean, Michael Hastings included some of what they said in his report, his story on this with Rolling Stone over a year ago. What is it true what I'm reading and what I'm hearing, that it really is a large number of veterans who are upset? What do you hear? What is the general tenor that we're not maybe perhaps getting in the media?
Well, I've been listening to it. I wanted to clear up. A deserter is a classification made by Congress. So until they declare it, I think the rest of that deserter conversation is somewhat moot.
Right.
Is the guy distraught? I think obviously, but in 2009 when we went after him, the intel at the time was that he had walked off base, which was important tactical information. Was it during combat or was something else going on? So obviously something else was going on. So he'd walked off base in his civilian clothes, left his body armor behind and his weapon. And that made a difference to us because now we have a different way of looking at that as a target. So it's an interesting lead-in. I don't hear that. Is he a traitor? It's still a moot point tactically because you still have to interact with that. You have to go after this guy because he is a citizen. Right.
How much did you know when you just knew that he had basically walked off base when you went for these search and rescue missions? You didn't really know any much beyond that.
No, all you really need to know as a SEAL is what, where, and when, because that's what's significant. Why is really an insignificant question. So that's all we wanted to know. What were the circumstances? What can we do to affect it? And then we went after him 2 separate times, and both of them were very, very, very dangerous missions.
Right. And you wrote about this in your book as well. These rescue missions that you were on when you went to go and get try to get Bergdahl. I mean, you weren't able to get him, but tell me a little bit about, the environment and what some of these missions were like. I mean, obviously it was a very dangerous situation. There were a lot of reports that some of these incidents and roadside bombs, all of this seemed to have been increasing after his disappearance. Give us a little insight on that if you can.
Well, yeah, we do very high intel-driven missions. So we were looking at all the intel at the time, using our resources, and I can't really describe the resource, but you pin him down the best way that you know how, and then to engage is to actually fly to those locations or drive. And we'd flown on both occasions, and the first occasion was 8 hours after he'd left. And we thought we'd got the right intel, and when we landed, we were immediately in a firefight. And that was off and on for the next 6 hours, and then we couldn't find him, and it was deemed time to come out. Then about 13 days later, we had really great intel, but it was a very hard environment. We had to hike 11 miles through the mountains at about 9,000 to 10,000 feet. It took us all night to get there, and right when we got there, we were in another nice firefight, if you will. And trying to search 80 buildings is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. So we could have missed him, but obviously we didn't find him.
Wow. Yeah. And there were men who were lost in the process of this. And obviously, their families speaking out there.
None of my guys were lost, but
none of yours.
I have read the facts that, so they had Bergdahl, obviously, and what they do to protect him is kind of mine the area that he's in. And I had heard that some Army guys had hit some mines on the way in to try to rescue him as well. And obviously that's over a 5-year period of time. Right.
What do you make of the prisoner exchange? Obviously, there's a lot of people are discussing this. It's very controversial. I've been told by numerous, folks who have served in the military, folks who have worked in Washington on foreign policy, that if you were going to put a dream team together of Taliban members, that these are the guys that you would choose. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the conversation that everybody's having, even when I was on Hannity yesterday, the conversation is are we negotiating with terrorists? I don't think that's the proper way to look at it. There's a plan in place, and I don't know what the plan is because I'm not there in the planning committee. So a bunch of guys sitting around talking about why we're going to do this and what's going to be the effect. And I've never seen somebody give up a pawn for 5 kings, and that's really what it is. But obviously, this isn't haphazard. There were probably military guys on that planning commission. I know that's not what everybody wants to hear, but there's a plan, and obviously we're going to wait to see what that is.
Right. Do you think that, as I know Senator Ted Cruz had said, that he really found the exchange troubling because he felt as though that it would make it more dangerous for our soldiers, and in that it would basically put kind of a bounty on them. It would put a price on them, that if one of them was taken by the Taliban or the Haqqani network or whomever, that they could be held and they could get prisoners out of Gitmo or make an exchange for however. Do you think that there's merit in that criticism?
It's kind of 2 answers to that. One is it's kind of unprecedented because even in our training, we're told that we're never going to be leveraged to do something like that. So, and the second part of it is it doesn't make it more dangerous to a soldier in combat. It's already dangerous. So it's already at 100% danger. So you can't get to 110% of danger. It's a weird way to look at it, but from the soldier's point of view, it's not making it more dangerous.
So I know Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Martin Dempsey said, General Dempsey said that they're definitely going to investigate the circumstances surrounding Bergdahl's disappearance, which seems to be kind of where it needs to go. Do you agree with that? I mean, and I realize that there's so much speculation out there, but ultimately, people are so cautious. You don't want to cast aspersions on someone, a soldier who served their country, if they're coming home and it's ill-founded speculation. But at the same time, when you consider the men who've been lost and a lot of the other circumstances surrounding this, what do you make of the investigation? Do you think that that's the path, the right path to go down?
Yeah, well, he's going to be investigated officially. What were the real facts behind him leaving? They're going to interview all the pertinent people, and he's going to have a lot to answer to just in the fact that he left his post, which is not a...
Right.
There's general orders in the military, and he broke a general order by leaving. And so he's going to have to answer to that, and I'm sure he will. That's not going to be covered up.
That's something that you just don't hear ever, that if somebody just kind of walks off post, do you? I mean, that's not something that I've ever grown up hearing a soldier do.
Yeah, well, and it's disobeying a direct order, and so he's going to answer to that. You cannot take decisions into your own hands when you're under the yoke of a chain of command. So he's going to answer that, no doubt about it. But right now, I mean, he is a citizen, and he's going to be taken care of until he's safe and healthy. And then when he is that way, the military and the judicial system will handle that.
Right. Is there anything that you think that is in this story that isn't being discussed as much or discussed accurately in the media that you think that is pertinent to understanding this situation and that would be helpful in going forward with the Bergdahl story?
Yeah, I think something that I haven't heard yet is to be captured by the Taliban, for the fact that he's lasted so long, he's had to convert, at least in theory, to Islam. Otherwise, they will kill you. So he's had to convert in front of them and profess Islam. And I don't know if that's pertinent, but it's something that's not being covered. And he probably had to learn the language to survive, which I'm beginning to glean that is in fact the case. So now we have somebody that's had to profess support of Islam and probably the Taliban to survive. Whether he did that to keep alive, who knows?
Right. Is that something that I'm sure that they would? He's hospitalized in Germany. I'm sure that time that they announced where they said he needs to decompress and sort of reintegrate back. That's probably what they're ascertaining at this point, I would think, right?
I would think it would be health-centric and then emotionally centric. I don't know if it's I don't know, but I know that the delay in Germany is very health-centric.
Right. Well, that's an interesting point, though, that you bring up, especially about the conversion in that. Thom Shea, author of the book Unbreakable, A Navy SEAL's Way of Life. You can find it on Amazon. It's a really good read. And, Tom, we thank you for your service to our country and for your perspective here on the program today. We appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Dana.
And thanks, Tom. Take care.